Bill Milner said hingeless mounts can be more expensive than stamps you put them in. That is true. Hinges, Bob showed you hinges. They're usually available at most clubs through the dealers. There we go. They're Denison with an
You have a look, you'll see them.
Hold it down a bit more, Bob, so they can see the name. Yeah, it's Denison, and usually clubs sell them for, you know, $375 to $450, depends. Now, if you go online, there's an old style of hinge called Denison, ends O-N instead of E-N. They'll cost you maybe $20, $25 for a package of 1,000 hinges, but they are the best hinge that was ever made. They're out of business, and you still will sometimes find the hinges. So there's a hint. And Bill also said he likes black stock pages. Well, I don't agree with him. I don't like black. I like white because if you've ever studied color, white shows materials. Yeah, there's black there. I'm thinking of
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, but whether they can.
Yeah, when I say pages, I'm thinking of pages where you actually physically mount the stamp with a hinge or some sort of a Vario or Howard hinge mount. I prefer the white because if you, again, I'm studying color of how the different types of backgrounds affects the color of stamps. And I'm doing that on 3-cent small queens because there's a wide variety there. Some of them due to atmosphere, some of them not. Stuart is saying, well, all your things are up there, Stuart.
Yeah, I sent the links finally.
Yeah, they're all up there. But colors, whatever you wish. But the thing that's most important that Bill pointed out, make sure you buy acid-free paper. And if you decide that you want to put some sort of a Staples type of clear plastic over your pages, again, make sure that you're buying archival type film. Otherwise, you will damage your stamps. Anyway, I think we're ready for a Q&A, Joe, unless, you know.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, type them in the Q&A thing, and we'll have one of the panelists try to address them.
Don't be shy.
While we're waiting, I'm just going to throw a quick little poll up there.
You want me to answer?
Yeah, everyone who wants to answer. We'll see how many new people we have and how many experienced people we have.
We can't
let me answer.
Sorry?
I'm trying to answer.
Oh, maybe you can't because you're a panelist.
Yeah, it says hosts and panelists cannot vote.
All right, I'm going to leave it for about another 5 seconds or so, and then we'll check out the results.
Yeah, there's a Q&A there.
Yeah, all right. So there we go. Most of our people here have been greater than 5 years.
Yeah. Okay, David Hobden has asked a question about what do you use for saving your covers in?
Well,
you want to answer that? Jerry and Bob can both answer that. I don't know if Stuart collects covers, do you?
I have covers, but
okay, then take it away, guys.
Well, I use these, which is the covers. Then, of course, put them in glassine envelopes. And, of course, that's a flag cancellation. And, of course, these are flag cancellations. That's what I use. And I use a box that's the right size so I can put a number of them in the box. So this size envelope would go in this size box. Always keep that like that. That's what dealers do when they go to shows.
Okay, Garfield has just answered and said that all Staples papers are acid-free.
I also collect covers, so I do some of them in books like this. These are all deductor cards, for example. I have several of these binders. I also keep them in, where I can, I keep them in plastic sleeves, and then I try to mount them, 2 or 3 covers on a page, and then put them in page protectors, so at least they're not laying around loose. Mind you, even as I say that, I look around and I see a few covers here and a few covers there that I haven't done anything with.
Well, there's a ton of questions coming in. I can't see them.
Okay. We'll start with one that Ingo asked. When starting, is it better to collect mint or used? The question is straightforward. The answer is it's up to you. Oftentimes, mint stamps are more expensive. Oftentimes, unused stamps or used stamps are less expensive, but it all depends. Is it better? Modern stuff, collect the mint stuff because you can get it. Used stuff, older stuff. Stuart, your comments.
Yeah, I tend to collect used simply because it's a lot less likely if you damage it to damage something that's worth a lot of money. And you can get a lot of used very, very inexpensive, especially the older stuff. I'm fortunate for the very modern stuff in the sense that I send a parcel or 2 or 3 to Australia every year. And one left today with $173 worth of Canadian 2020, 2021 stamps on it. All canceled nice and neatly, all put into a plastic sheet, strapped to the parcel, and that envelope full of stamps will come back to me. And I can show you stuff that I've done that way.
Mary Pugh asked the question, are stamp mounts acid-free? I'm wondering, does she mean the clear ones? I'm not sure, Mary, what you're asking.
Stuart?
Your corner mounts will be. Your hinges should be. And nobody talked about it, but today's modern hinges should not be peeled off. They should be soaked off.
Oh, right.
They are really, really too adhesive to the stamp. And if you don't soak them off, you really run to issues. The other problem with today's modern stamps is the lick and stick stamps. Some of them are water soluble and some of them aren't. If you make a mistake and put a water soluble one, try and soak it as if it was non-water soluble with Bestine or some other chemical, it'll stay on that paper forever. And you really do need to get help with a club handling and soaking modern stamps off of paper.
Andre Paget says, I like to make my own album, but still wondering if and how to document them. What are the sources you could share with me? Who wants to tackle that one? Well, my immediate answer would be stamp catalogs. They give you the information of, when the stamp was issued, and in some cases, how many were issued. And the other thing is research online. It's amazing what you can find with Google. It depends on how far you want to go. I've seen people who write up 2 pages of history about a single cover.
And other people do something as simple as this.
Yes.
And that's a quadrille page, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's how I bought the stamps, but
Graham Jeffrey says, for covers, I use photo album pages, pocket style and acid free.
not a good idea.
Photo albums tend to be a no-no. They're not made with polypropylene.
The problem with photo albums is oftentimes they stick against the back.
And unless they're made from polypropylene, if they're made with polyethylene, they will have a plasticizer in them, which will eventually damage your stamps. Okay, we now have one from Mike. Okay, Mike, I'm going to try Ramar Hadra. 2 questions. I live in a very rural area and collected Canadian plate blocks. Can I get some ideas as to how to incorporate new stamps, as most seem to be issued in booklets now? Can you give me some ideas as to how to organize a topical collection by year, by subject?
Yeah, Canadian stamps are no longer issued in sheet form, so you cannot get plate blocks of them like you could a number of years ago. I'm not sure when they stopped doing it. If you want to continue that same format, I suppose you could get a booklet and remove all the stamps from the booklet and mount them that way, or what's called exploding the booklet, opening it, mounting the whole thing. But as far as getting newer issues with plate block numbers, you're not going to find them. I can't remember when they actually stopped. Probably 8-10 years ago.
How would you organize a topical collection by year, by subject, to get, etc.?
Well, it all depends on what the person wants to do. I mean, mounting and doing something with the collection is completely up to the individual collector. If you can mount the things by year, by date of issue. You can mount them by the value of the stamps or the topic. I'm not sure there's a right answer to your question. It's one of these things where, as a collector, you have to decide what's pleasing to yourself and what you'd like to do.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Just a note to the panelists. After, if you answer a question live, if you can go into the Q&A and just type done so that it moves away, it helps Ken keep track of what questions have been answered and not.
Yeah, I'm trying to just scroll down, Joe. Okay, the next one's a very interesting one, and probably it would definitely be a future presentation. Edward Truman says, thanks for the presentation, but I was looking for more elaborate ways to identify paper types, shading, fluorescent levels, etc. Hopefully in another future presentation. Now, one thing I will tell you, when it comes to fluorescence, there is a guide at the front of Unitrade that will help you very much. And that kind of answers Fred Maggiacomo's question of how to determine the level of fluorescence. There is a very good guide in the front of Unitrade that will tell you, are you dealing with a high fluorescence, a medium fluorescence, dull fluorescence, etc. And it will tell you which stamps exhibit those characteristics. And I've made my own fluorescent sheet for doing that. Okay, cover stock is excellent for cover mounting. That's Peter McCarthy. Okay. Okay, George Papal says, what are covers and why would stamp collectors want to keep them? Oh boy, I wish David Hobden were here.
I can give David some talk if you'd like.
I think you should, David.
All right, David, if you unmute yourself, you can speak up a bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Can you repeat that question? I'm really,
Hey.
I'm just trying to,
Where did it go?
shocked here. What is
Okay.
a cover and why would you try to keep it? Well, if
Yeah,
you think
right.
about it, collecting a stamp is interesting, but what did the stamp really do? The stamp paid a franking on a cover. And if you go far enough back, you don't just get the cover with the directional markings, the dispatch markings, the transit markings, and the receiver markings from all the small post offices that used to be all over the place, which have now very often been gobbled up in bigger communities. But if you go far enough back to the time when it was normal to fold the piece of paper up, seal the back, and frank the front, either pre-stamp or post issuance of stamps, then you get the correspondence too. So you're actually holding a piece of history that somebody said to somebody else in 1850 or 1860 or 1830 or 20. And they're not really that rare, and they're not really that expensive, and they're a lot of fun. And I find that interesting in that it opens up the history more completely to me.
Thank you, David.
Well, if I can jump in for a second, Ken, you know,
Yeah.
one of the things that I collect other than stamps, and to be truthful, I probably haven't bought any new stamps for my collections in a number of years. What I do is I collect postal history, which is a study of the letters and cards that have gone through the mail. And one of the things I sort of specialize in is Austro-Hungarian censor markings on covers. That's why the whole thing is more important to me than an individual stamp. Some of these things don't even have stamps on them because they were mailed by people on active service during a particular period. So there is fun in and enjoyment in collecting postal history.
Okay. Alan Hills, what brand of Canada album would you recommend? I understand that my Minkus catalog Canada supplements are no longer available, and I don't know where to turn for a new album in the pages. Well, again, that depends. That depends on how much you want to spend.
If you go into the Unitrade website, you'll find all kinds of listings for albums. And as Ken says, depends how much you want to spend.
Matthew Atala is asking, I don't have many books talking about.
I'm answering that.
Yeah, I know you're typing an answer, but only he will see it.
Okay, I'll read it.
Yeah.
The Royal Philatelic Office shares a facility with the VGG Library. That's on 10 Summerhill in Toronto. Royal members can visit and may be able to borrow the books. Additionally, clubs like St. Catherine's have a library list of what their members will share. And stamp clubs are a good place to try and borrow books. Okay?
Stamp clubs are always the best place to find people that will talk to you about anything.
I was interested in flag cancels at one time, and this is where the social network comes into hand. And my cousin Bob Thorne lent me a book that you can't get anymore about flag cancels that was written by Doug Lingard of Ottawa. So, you know, the social network. And David Hobden lend me a gauge for measuring the thickness of paper, which I'm interested in. And by the way, David, guess what Santa Claus brought me? I've got my own. So I have to figure out a way to return yours. And then there's a Peter asking, I would pronounce it German way, but are PVC-free photo corners okay to use when mounting postal stationery in albums? I don't know the answer to that. All I know is I buy my corners at the let me see if I can pull a package out. I buy them at the Photoshop, and I don't know if they're PVC or what they are. I buy photo corners, and it says on it archival polypropylene, and it's showing backwards. But most photography shops will have them, and I buy a larger size because covers are have a little more weight and they need a little more substance to hold them. And I don't. Is that the same thing? A different brand?
This is a brand that I bought at Michael's.
Okay.
And I'm just looking at it. It's the self-adhesive, and it says acid and lignin free. So they're acid free.
Yeah.
Which is good because that's what I use on mine. I've also bought them at Unitrade or Trajan. So I imagine theirs are acid free too.
See, and I think this goes back to a question that Mary Pugh asked. Archival polypropylene. Any plastic that ever comes in contact with philatelic material should be archival polypropylene or one of the other types of archival. And if it doesn't say word archival on it, I wouldn't use it.
Ken, I'm going to answer Bob Gardner's question about color.
Okay.
Stanley Gibbons produces and sells a stamp color guide. But to give you an idea how tough it is to figure out colors, take a look.
Ah,
You know, and on top of that, Bob, you're going to be dealing with if sunlight or exposure has faded it or changed it slightly, then you're going to have even more difficulty actually verifying the color of older stamps because they're subject to color changes over time because of light exposure and other exposures. Does that help?
for those of you who know Sam Chu, he gave a talk on determining color of postage stamps at a meeting actually before the pandemic hit, and it got me interested in color. And this was my other Christmas present. It's a book called Principles of Color Technology. And I'm primarily interested in trying to understand. I've got a book on the chemicals that were used to make the pigments. And is it going to do anything? No, just other than it's going to be with my curiosity about color and shades, because we all see things differently. Like in my case, I have bad eyesight. So I see a color different than Bob would, or than Stuart would, or Jerry would, or Joe, or David, or anybody else who's online.
And you can collect even if you're colorblind, because I am colorblind.
Yeah. But I mean, the color guide that Stuart showed you is a great place to start.
An interesting comment by Garfield at the Green Foundation. He compared the colors of 5 Stanley Gibbon color guides and got 5 different results. He said, so be careful when using the color guides.
Yeah, but he has a BSC 6000 at his disposal. Now, where did you see that? I didn't see that.
That was in the
It's on the
chat.
chat.
Oh, I don't see any more questions.
Well, there's a question here about, have you guys seen the new Austria crypto stamps? And what do you guys think of them?
The answer for me is no.
I haven't seen them.
Neither have I.
I haven't seen the Austrian crypto stamps, but I've seen the Austrian stamps that were recently issued, printed on toilet paper.
Right.
Bear in mind that most countries sell stamps to collectors. They probably sell more to collectors than they sell to people actually using it. So that's why they make the funny ones. And they're all interesting. No question about it.
I have, over the last number of years, I've been writing a short article in a magazine called, or a journal called Philojournal, which is a publication of the Greater Toronto Area Philatelic Alliance. And the title is Unusual Stamps. And I've probably done about 30, 40, maybe 50 of these articles. And they're all to do with stamps that are different from what we expect. You know, normally you expect something printed on paper. Well, I've seen them printed on veneer. I've seen them printed on silk, on metal, where they have things embedded in them where they're tactile. Where if you scratch them, they have you can smell them. So Bob is right. A lot of countries print a lot of these stamps that are different, and most of them are printed or made for collectors.
Yeah, and it's again, it's what you want to collect.
Exactly.
I don't think you can beat that drum too loud. I mean, to have fun, collect what you want to collect. Now, somebody is asking here, what is a good reference for identifying stamps from non-European areas?
Scott,
Seeing as I don't collect any of those, I can't answer.
The
Scott, then each country will have their own. Like we have the Unitrade catalog. The U.S. has, I can't remember the name of the U.S. one, but Scott has a big catalog on it on U.S. stamps. Australia has their own catalog. Most of the countries, there's a collector who's been very involved in it and collects, and somebody has written it up. So there are books available on most countries.
Stuart?
If you want, the best place to go to find what catalog is available is go to the country and look for their National Philatelic Association. That will really help you in a real quick way. And there are references on the internet that will guide you to find the philatelic associations in any particular country.
Jerry?
yeah, one of my collecting interests is, like I've said before, is Poland, and I have a number of specialized catalogs for Poland. Some of them were printed many years ago. Some of them are have been reprinted recently, and there's a lot of things that are listed in those where you'll never find them listed in Scots, even though they're valid postal items or philatelic items from those countries. And like Stuart says, if you go to, for example, the Polish Philatelic Union, find their website, you can. They even have a British or English version of it, and you could find a lot of the things out on there.
We got a comment from Mike, and Mike, I apologize. I'm going to have trouble pronouncing your last name, Ramarda. He just wanted to thank you all for your time and knowledge that you so generously share.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stuart.
One of the things that a lot of us got when we were very young was something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can't find one because they haven't been distributed for like 30 or 40 years, Scott Catalog will have one in the front of their catalogs, the stamp identifiers. Because some countries, you may find a stamp when you're looking at it and saying, is it real? Again, I'll do the best I can. That'll help you tremendously. So don't just turf something because you can't recognize the country. Find a stamp finder or find a club. And challenge those members. Sometimes you can challenge them all.
The next question is a real interesting one. It's from Matthew Atala. I believe, Matthew, you're in Montreal. It says, are cancel to order stamps still considered stamps, or are they fake? I'm unclear about if it's an actual stamp or just a printed piece of paper made to look like one. Who wants to tackle that one?
Well, a stamp that's canceled to order is the stamp initially, and then they cancel it. Fakes do exist. Many people made them, especially in the old days when somebody would pay money for them. Everybody that collects has lost something because of some fake. No question about it. But canceled to order stamps are, I guess they're collectible, but in reality, most people prefer to get a cancellation where you can read the location. That's part of postal history.
A lot of the East European countries and a lot of the African countries especially in the 50s and 60s, would issue a lot of their stamps as cancelled to order. It was because they were dealing primarily with collectors, and that's how they issued them.
I'm not sure if this is a question again. Bob Gardner is saying, can you talk about how to detect shades of color on stamps? Personally, that would be a whole. Is that something that you could consider for the future, Joe? That's not an easy one for today.
The problem is Garfield would have to know based on, because everybody looks at color differently.
Yes.
We can get that in the future. The problem is the rest of the year is planned out. So I will take a note, and if this continues on to next year, I will put identifying colors one in.
Maybe Bob, I don't know. Bob, could you send me your email address?
My email,
Bob Gardner, if
Oh.
he could send me his email address, I've got some thoughts on how to maybe help him, but it'll be too tough today. Now, going back to Matthew's question about cancel to order. Cancel to order are definitely collectible, but don't pay big bucks for them. Like, for instance, a country I collect is the Tsar. And there are some Tsar stamps that if you buy them mint, they're relatively inexpensive. If you buy them postally used, they're very expensive. But a lot of cancel to order stamps are out there. And what you would do is maybe pay 10% of catalog, no more than that. Now, the thing you have to be careful with high priced, again, I collect Germany, high priced German stamps, there's a lot of forgeries out there. And again, there's lots of websites that you can research that will tell you about forgeries and which forgeries. Like, for instance, there's certain dates in Hamburg, early Hamburg stamps. If you got that date in it, it's a forgery. So those things are online. Next question is Sean Downey. If I have a stamp that I do not know the country, how can I identify the writing if not using an alphabet, say Chinese or Arabic?
the back of Scott's catalog.
I don't know if that helps you, Sean, but it's there.
Back of Scott's catalog generally has something showing you different
Types of printing. And we're fortunate when it comes to Chinese, we have a member, Sam Chu, who's.
That's the type of thing that's in the back of a Scott catalog.
Yeah. But still, the best thing to do is to find a native speaker in that language who could maybe translate, especially if it's a letter or the address. I've seen some covers in Cyrillic, and I have no idea where they're coming from or where they're going to. So you would need a native speaker there, or somebody like Jerry who can interpret.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's something to do with Poland, I can find it. But I also have been lucky using Google Translate sometimes for some of the markings on stamps, or in a pinch, I get hold of somebody like Mike Medesker to translate the Russian for me.
Yeah.
Translated,
Okay.
talk to people.
Yeah.
Are there pages printed for physical stamps? That's from Harold Jones.
What country?
Doesn't say.
Canada, yes. There are pages, but you have to make your own because there are so many differences.
I think there's ones for the US of A as well.
I would think, and I could be wrong, if you got hold of one of the groups like through the APS that specializes in fiscal stamps, they might have an idea of whether you can get pages printed for them.
Okay, how many of you, this is Fred Magicomo, how many of you have insured your collections? I find the volume overwhelming.
My insurance, I have limited insurance on my things, and it's part of my household thing, and it probably would not cover the value of my things. But that's that's a bad move on my part.
The person to
Stuart?
contact is Garfield at
Okay.
the Green Foundation. He will be able to answer any insurance questions. I have no special insurance because most of my stamps, nobody else knows what they're worth.
Cousin does.
And Ken, if you'd like, I can promote Garfield to answer that if you'd like. Yeah, Ken, is that good?
I don't see Garfield, so
All right, he's up
There
there
he
now.
is.
there he is.
There is companies that specialize in insurance. I'm sure Garfield will touch on it.
Thanks, Joe, for asking the question. Insurance on a collection is a rather interesting situation. Every homeowner policy, be it a homeowner or a tenant's package policy or a condominium policy, will have very limited coverage for stamp collections, but you must read that section. It's under the special limits of coverage. You'll find that there are strict limits of how much in total is covered, strict limits for maximum value for any given item, and also limitations for where the loss occurs. Generally speaking, your loss will not be covered if it is outside of your home. The real answer is if you've got a collection that is of any serious value, you should be, first of all, a member of the Royal Philatelic Society of Canada. That goes without saying anyhow. And take advantage of the policy options that are available through the Hugh Wood program, which is offered exclusively to the Royal at extremely good premiums. You'll just find that you get outstanding coverage at a very competitive price. And that'll cover every insurance need that you've got. Thanks, Joe. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said without going into specific details.
Yeah. Well, there's
Thank you,
another
Garfield.
panel where it's going to be a lot more detail, right?
Okay, Joe, this question is for you. It's from Chris Hargraves. Could detecting colors be added to the July panel? Other considerations?
I've marked that down because I was reading ahead, and I will ask the July panel if they can fit that in. So probably yes.
Then we have a comment from Hatham Elzine, and again, I apologize for my pronunciation, but this is what joining the societies and chapters and clubs is all about. He says, I can read Arabic, and if anybody needs any help, contact me. And, you know, that's what's great about belonging to clubs. And, you know, we've got 87, I think it's 87 chapters of the Royal across Canada. And if you're not a member, as Garfield says, something you should definitely look at. And how do you know if you have a collection that needs special insurance? Do you want to try that one, Garfield? That's from Susan Murray.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, you're live.
Okay, thanks, Joe. If you can't afford to lose it, then you need to have it insured. One of the things that I taught my customers when I was in the business for 25 years is don't risk a lot for a little. The premiums are small, the protection is great, but if you can afford to lose it and just walk away with a smile on your face, then you don't need insurance. But if it's going to bother you to lose it and you're going to suffer a financial loss, then I think you want to consider insuring your collection. That's all.
Okay, this will be for you again, Garfield. It says, yes, but you need to provide proof of what you have, and the volume can be substantial.
Quick answer on that one is that no, you don't need to prove what you've got. If you your word is good when you sign the application for the Hugh Wood policy, you determine the total amount of insurance that you need, which should be the replacement cost of your collection, and they will accept that number, and you will be insured for that number without question.
Okay, then we have one from Edward Truman. Says, does anyone use I'm not sure. I think what he's asking is, do you have software to keep track of your Canadian stamps?
It is available.
Do you have any reference on that, Bob?
No, I don't, but it is available online.
Yeah, one of the supply people that come to the shows have that. I think it might be Unit Trade even. But you can probably find it online too. And not only for Canadian stamps, I think for other countries too.
Has
Are
anyone
you
used a album or software for that?
I think I have a demo disc for it that I might have looked at it one time, but I never really looked at it.
Okay, somebody has just answered the question and said it's Soft Pro.
Okay.
SOFTPRO.
Or Easy Stamp.
Okay.
Fred, thank you very much.
Yeah, Fred also answered that and said Easy Stamp. I think a question disappeared.
Sorry, as you've been answering them, I've been trying to eliminate them from the open section. So if you go to the answered section, you can see all the ones that we talked about if I screwed up and deleted something too quick.
Okay, Edward Truman says, I was using Stamp Management Canada out of Mississauga, but it seems to have disappeared. And then Mary Pugh says Stanley Gibbons has software. You know, one of the things I find, even though I've been collecting for a long time, I find Googling or Bing or something like that, doing online searches, if you just have the patience to do a little bit of searching, it's amazing.
Ingo mentioned another one. I can't remember the name of it.
Colmect. You just put it on the chat. That's COLNECT.
Someone did ask if anyone's ever found a diamond in the rough.
He answered that question.
Every day somebody finds one.
Well, I have
Depends
one
on
I
what you
found.
call a diamond. That's the big question. I
have
find something daily.
Bob Thorne helped me find the only known cracked ear on cover. Again, that's King George VI, 233 II. There's only one ever been known, and guess who found it with Bob's help? And guess who owns it? Am I happy? Does my face say happy?
Well, I'll give you an example of a find. The Canada Post issued or used a inkjet cancellation which says thank you healthcare workers. And when I was going through it, I found one that was dated 2009. In March. Basically, the 9 and March were the month and day. The last day of this slogan was March, or not March, was September 3. And it's because of the way they changed the program on a computer. They happen regularly. Ask the guy that found the, once again, many times.
There's a comment here from Fred Magicomo, and he says, "Thanks, guys. Great meeting. I really appreciate you all." And I'm looking at the board. You know, we still have 32 people here, Joe.
Yes.
You are free to congratulate.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, I'm going to just pump everyone up to so everyone could chit chat with each other if that's okay. Unless you got more to talk about, Ken.
Nothing more that I have. Bob, Jerry, Stuart.
Nope.
The only thing I can say is if you're collecting stamps or covers, have fun in what you're doing. Okay? Have fun. That's the main thing.
And the big thing I say is the people you're dealing with, they are all lots of fun and very knowledgeable once you meet people at a club.